Welcome back to the ReEducation podcast, where Karen, I'm joined by the stupendous Colin Miller, who always usually introduces the show, but we decided I would introduce the show today. And welcome back as we accompany you on a ride to the ReEducation camp as the buses come, as the soldiers knock at your door and take you away to the funny farm. So we're here to keep you company, hopefully to maybe not necessarily inform you, but maybe entertain you.
No,
Maybe
this
just,
actually, you
yeah,
should be getting all of your main news from this
you should be.
podcast, actually.
Yes.
I really don't even
Yes.
think you should bother with any other news source,
Well,
truth be told.
I was telling Colin before we got on the show, because Colin and I, obviously, we're two different people. We have two different backgrounds. So sometimes I really what I appreciate about doing this every week is that he brings something to my attention that I didn't know about, and I bring something to his attention that he didn't know about. So he was not aware of the much like the Cabbage Patch Kids of the 80s, Tickle Me Elmo of the 90s.
Furby,
Now, Furbies, correct. They are still creeping me out to this
I
day.
never had one.
I don't think I had one, but they're just creepy, right? My cousin had one, and they look like gremlins. They look like the
Yeah,
gremlins before.
I wanted one, but it was, I don't know if it was something where I wasn't allowed to have a Furby. I don't know. I remember like my mom in particular just didn't like the idea of like this sentient creature, I suppose. So it was probably for the best, honestly. But go ahead.
Well, now it's not necessarily children getting into this frenzy. We now have women and young women uh deucing it out, punching each other, fighting with each other, getting in line for a Stanley cup that was sold at Target stores. It's like a pink Valentine's cup. That women are just have like a frenzy over this Stanley Cup. Like this is now the cup to have. I don't know if you've seen this
I think you sent
online or
me
not.
like a TikTok video
Video,
or
yeah,
something about
yeah.
this a few weeks ago. Now when you say Stanley Cup, is this a hockey thing?
That is so good. Well, I guess it's a mug. Would you
I'm not
call it like
joking.
a?
Does this have to do with hockey in
No,
any
it
way,
has
shape, or
nothing
form?
to do with
Okay.
no, just Stanley, like the camping equipment, camping mug, thermos. It's kind of like it's not a thermos, but it's a cup. It's like a
Okay.
cup. But so I was kind of curious like how this whole Stanley thing like took over the basic, not basic witch, but basic bee.
This sounds so
Because
stupid already.
because these are
Just the
not,
concept
yeah,
that these
yes,
women.
but these were well, they come in all these different colors and these different palettes. So you can kind of like coordinate it with your clothes or your aesthetic. I'm not sure if you have an aesthetic, Colin. It seems to be like you're lacking an aesthetic, actually. A
Really?
little,
I think it's
yeah.
just because you're not around me in person enough.
Oh,
I have a
okay.
very I'm a very
You have an
blue
aesthetic.
kind of a
Okay.
guy. I mean,
Okay.
my frames are blue. I wear a lot of blue shirts. I have a blue
Okay.
guitar. I'm a
Okay.
very
All right. I'm sorry. I
yeah.
apologize. You do have an
I-
aesthetic going on. You're hip.
just because I'm wearing a black shirt right now,
Yes. No. Well, sometimes you wear like a Jimmy Buffett Hawaiian shirt on the show. So I wasn't sure if
depending
that
upon
was
my
your
mood.
aesthetic.
I dress
You are in
based on mood.
Florida, very tropical. But so blue is kind of your aesthetic. Well, like you would have a blue Stanley. Like it was probably like a light blue, kind of similar to your guitar, actually, now that you mention it. It's kind of
Yeah,
like
and you know
a,
the guitar that I'm referencing, of
yeah,
course.
yeah.
My
So
Tom DeLonge Stratocaster. My pride and joy.
exactly. So you would get a Stanley in that color. That's your color. We yada yada yada. These girls are super into this. So I was kind of curious, like how the Stanley Cup, Stanley mug, I don't know what you call it, took over the marketplace of all the basic bees. And these are kind of like we have our basic witches over here, and they're like more dark aesthetic. They're like the personification of a nightmare before Christmas. And then you have these other girls that are like basic bees, and they're kind of I guess more like Barbie, kind of Barbie-ish is their persona. I don't know exactly.
Yeah, they think
It
that
matters,
they
yes.
fancy themselves as Margot Robbie,
Yes,
but
yeah.
they're
And like
not.
I get down with both sides. Like I get down with some of the basic witch stuff when Halloween
Oh,
comes around.
sure. You know
And
me, Karen. I've
I'm
got crystals, and I'm watching tarot
yeah.
card readings for Virgo on YouTube. I'm down. Oh
We
yeah.
should talk about that. But so now I from what I understand, what I read is that one influencer online, she just had this cup and it took the marketplace by storm. So I actually years before this Stanley mug took off, pre-COVID, I was in my favorite place ever, which is the clearance section at Walmart. And I happened to see a Stanley item and I said, "Oh my gosh, look at this. It's only like $7 or $9 or something." And I'm like, "I need to get this." So I think that like I'm as somebody that's online, that has a presence online, I decided that like maybe I could get this particular thermos to kind of take off. So I'm going to introduce everybody to my Stanley Built for Life. And this will now be the official drink, official vessel that I use from now on the
Maybe we could get a
ReEducation.
sponsorship
Yes,
and
maybe I'm sure we are definitely whatever this is, I'm sure Stanley wants to sponsor.
I'm
But
I don't
so
see why not.
this will be the official ReEducation camp drinking vessel.
Now,
This
is
is
this
what I
exclusively for a hot beverage? Is that the idea? You
This
want like
is
a
I mean, this
piping
can be
hot?
both. This can be both. I mean, I think that most of these chicks are drinking water out of straws. I also want to give young women a little tip. I drank out of straws since the time I was 17 because the dental hygienist told me if I was going to drink a sugary drink, which I liked iced tea, being from the coal region,
Of course.
they told
Gears for
me,
life.
yes, gears for life. Hello. Um, they told me to drink with a straw so it wouldn't affect my teeth. I drank out of a straw for all of my 20s. Then I start to get in my 30s and realize I got some lines around my lips. What are all these lines going on? My mother doesn't have lines. I have the same facial structure as her. Well, it turns out drinking out of a straw and water bottles 24/7 will give you wrinkles. So if you are drinking that Stanley with a straw, you better think again or you're going to get premature lip lines like a smoker, because that's what I have. I have smoker's lines and I've never smoked a cigarette in my life. So, oh, okay, I've never smoked a full cigarette. I've only like puffed on a cigarette.
That
Okay, I'm
reminds
not
me of
that.
something. We should talk about my Zyn story too, but go on.
Oh yes, we should talk about it. Me and Colin love nicotine.
Because the
So
feds are
none.
trying to go after Zyn now. So,
No, really?
oh yeah, yeah.
Oh
I think
God.
that.
Well,
Go ahead.
so there you go. So now on each episode, I want you when you listen to Reeducation podcast, you're gonna go get yourself a thermos. This beautiful white color I have. It's my aesthetic. I love white. And we are going to drink out of our Stanleys. So now, you know me, I actually have three different water, like drinking vessels here. I have one coffee. So I went and got coffee from the local coffee place. And then this is the thing I use every day. But
So let me ask you this: how should you be drinking? Like just out of a glass? Is that the most ideal way to
yes, that
consume
is
your
the most,
beverage?
yeah, I would say glass, not plastic, although I think this is BPA free. So here, also, maybe our competitor over here, Yeti, wants to sponsor us, but this is what I typically use. I don't think that this is popular, but maybe I'll hold this up to the screen and it'll get popular.
Is there a brand called Camelback?
Yeah, yeah. Is that like the Walmart version?
All I know is that I
No, it's
have
not,
a
but
Camelback thermos, and I actually need to look that up right now because I want to make sure I'm saying that correctly. This is very important.
Camelback. Yeah, I'm thinking about, yeah, I've seen that before. I've seen Camelback thermos. I expect you to bring that thermos on the next episode and drink
Yeah.
out of it exclusively from now on.
Well, the thing is, it now I'm a little freaked out. You got me a little freaked out because it has a plastic straw, and I find it very convenient to use in the evenings because I drink a lot at night. I'm very dry, so I wake
Yes,
up and it's just nice to have a straw there. You know what I'm saying?
nice little factoid that I've looked into. Men actually, like, you should be fine, especially because you have more hair follicles around your lips. men, like, they don't age the same way as women. I know that men can be women and women can be men, but guess what? Your skin is gonna be your it's gonna be based on your biological at birth gender. And, so no, men don't really have to worry about that as much. Yeah, they don't really.
Well, what a relief that is, because I do
Yeah.
enjoy this new thermos that I have specifically for cold beverages. Not much of a hot beverage guy, really, truth be told.
Wow, really? Yeah, no coffee? You like coffee,
Well,
right?
beside, I don't even include that. I mean, when I say I'm not much of a hot beverage guy, like throughout the day, I don't really want to be sipping on a hot beverage. I want water to stay hydrated most of the time.
Okay, okay,
Not that
yeah.
this is interesting in any way, shape, or form, my beverage consumption habits, but yeah, I did
Although I'm
not.
the person that's, like, asking, I'm like, "Wait, what do you drink? I need to know."
I was not aware though of
Fascinating.
this whole Stanley thermos craze.
Yes.
It sounds dumb to me. Um but if I guess if women want to go and knock themselves out over what, like a pink, like that thermos but pink, is that the whole?
Oh, it doesn't look anything like this.
Oh, okay.
The
I
real
see.
thermos just looks like one that everybody's drinking out of, like the item, just looks like a cup with just a handle on it, and they're come in different colors with a straw.
I think
That's
I'm
it.
still hung up on the fact that you tried a cigarette. I never tried a cigarette before.
Yeah, really? Yeah, no,
Can I
I
hear a little more
tried.
about this?
Yeah, yeah. Alright, so for the record, I've never been drunk. I've never tried marijuana. I've never tried cocaine or speed or really anything unless it
So
was,
you're
like,
the
for
opposite of Hunter Biden, essentially.
I'm the opposite of Hunter Biden, who I
Not as fun.
adore. So maybe that's why I like Hunter so much, because he's like the
You live
antithesis of how
vicariously through Hunter.
I do. I wanna live dangerously like Hunter, so I just live vicariously through his laptop images. Um, I just wish I could be on his
Which is
arm
Russian
in a
propaganda, by the
robe
way.
with just
I
Russian.
just want to
Yeah,
add that
exactly.
asterisk.
Yeah, and ex 100%, you're
Reviewed
so
by 50
right.
intelligence agents
Yeah.
who have never lied about anything or done any sort of covert or shady activity in
But,
history.
uh but so, um yeah, so when I was 13, I hung around the
13.
neighborhood, like the development, it wasn't even
God.
really a neighborhood. And I was friends with some people that were older than me, like 3 years older than me. And my one friend, she was working, I think she worked on the turnpike, which had like a McDonald's and I don't know, like an Annie Ann's and like a little coffee place or something. I don't remember where she worked exactly, which which one of those businesses, but she would go on breaks. And when she was 16, she started smoking because everybody would go on a smoke break. And so I think she smoked Newport menthols. And I definitely tried that. And everybody thought it was just so funny that, like, I don't even remember inhaling like Bill Clinton. I don't recall inhaling. But like I would like smoke it like an old lady. So I would like be like, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah. Very
very,
cool. Very chic.
the way I kind of think I was like channeling, what's her name? Betty Davis, like very Betty Davis, like old school maybe it's just my grandmother because she smoked all my life. So I
Like
don't
old
recall.
Hollywood.
Yeah,
Like
like old
classic Hollywood.
Hollywood. That's what that's my aesthetic. I've decided I'm gonna go real hard on that 1940s golden age Hollywood.
I love
Betty
it.
Davis, that's my that's my future. But
A better time.
so yeah, so I don't know, like so that's why I tried it. I don't remember like really inhaling it or anything or really, and I never had like a full cigarette, but it was just more like,
So you just
uh
had like a couple drags off of a,
yeah,
what
just
was it,
like
a
a couple
Newport, you said?
drags, a Newport menthol. And then when I was in college, me and my girlfriends got together from Jim Thorpe and we did like a little photo shoot. Remember that when when Facebook was new and MySpace and you like get together with your girlfriends, and Colin doesn't have a clue what I'm talking about, but you were
I've
looking at
seen.
girls' pictures those,
I
right? Like back in the
Yeah, like of course. Of course,
Yeah.
I'm like creeping on Facebook profiles and MySpace absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So like you and your girlfriends would get together and you would do like a little photo shoot, you get dressed, or you do like be in a field and you'd be like looking and you have like a flower in your hair. So I come up with this idea. It's like winter break, we're in college, I'm home from Alabama. I'm like, you know what we should do? Let's go get some cigarettes and let's like dress like like that's when hipsters started. So I was really like trying to make fun of hipsters. Like there was a point to my photo shoot, but I was like, why don't we all get together and like we'll dress like all hipster and we'll get cigarettes and like act real cool in Jim Thorpe. So like there's like a picture of me like smoking a cigarette on Broadway.
That's very
And
scandalous.
yeah, it
Very
actually
like
was.
by your
Yeah.
standards, it's very
Yeah.
scandalous.
So I probably had like a drag or two at that time.
Did you
And
feel anything?
no, I didn't feel
No?
jack. Yeah, nothing. But it's funny that you say this because I have a friend that's like so into this like smoke this this smoking phase that I had, which was not a phase. It was like literally two pictures of me.
Yeah, it's like 2 times in your life you took a few
Yeah.
drags. You don't even
So
know if you inhaled.
yeah. So my friend
You
had
probably
like
did.
no recollection. Like he didn't know about me smoking when I was 13 or like trying a cigarette when I was 13. But he did, I guess, remember these photos of me from college. And when I got back on Facebook, my mom had taken a joking photo of me with my cousins because they smoke. And my mom's like, she was like, "Oh, you hold the cigarette and your cousin will hold the cigarette." So I'm like in true Betty Davis style, like sitting there like this. And my friend like jumped on and he was like, "What is the deal with this?" He's like, "I love your glamour smoking." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he was like, "I remember your other glamour smoking." So I call it glam smoking or glamour smoking. So it's not that you actually smoke, it's that you just you glamorous
It's really
smoke, as
more
he
it's more
called
of a
it. Yeah.
prop than anything is what you're
Yes,
trying to
yeah.
say.
You're just trying to like channel that
You
old
just wanna be
school
cool.
cool. Yeah,
Old
I just want to
school.
be I just want
Cool.
to be old school Betty Davis cool with like cigarette, and she's just like
Well, I
doesn't
was trying to
care.
be
Yeah.
Tucker Carlson cool, but
Yes, yeah.
it
Let's
di
talk about Zen is not a
yeah.
sin.
Yeah, because
Tell
it's
people
been
what
in the
Zen is because I was not even familiar with this.
yeah, so I feel like most people know what Zyn is. It's basically like it's a smokeless way to get nicotine in your system. And I had never tried nicotine before in my life. I had never even smoked a cigarette, never really had a desire to. But of course, I am a big Tucker Carlson fan, and I am easily influenced by my idols, so to speak. And he had said that if you start doing if you start doing Zyn, you're gonna get a lot richer. So I went out to my local 7-Eleven immediately. I bought the 3 milligram citrus Zyn pouches, and it's just like a little pouch that you stick in your upper lip, and you just kind of let it there for I don't know what the instructions say, like a half hour to an hour. But in any case, this was my first nicotine experience. I'm 34 years old, never tried it before in my life, and the onset of what I felt was really elating and very stimulating, and I had a lot of energy. However, I think that the mistake that I made, even though this was a 3 milligram pouch, this was my first experience, so I shouldn't have kept it in my mouth as long because I got really sick. I got really lightheaded and I felt like I needed to lay down. I thought I was going to vomit, honestly. And it wore off after about 2 or 3 hours of just laying in bed. So, unfortunately, my first experience with Zyn was not a success. I am not a penny richer after having tried it. I am tempted because I only tried one pouch and it's in my
Yeah,
drawer. So
yeah.
I'm thinking like maybe just go back and just try it just for like a few minutes. Just put the pouch in your mouth for like 10 minutes. And then, once you get that elated sort of feeling, because I do think I've been reading a bit about it, and I think that the chemical nicotine unto itself, I don't think is cancer causing or harmful. It's the carcinogens found in the smoke.
I do believe nicotine, like, in your if it gets into your lungs, it does cause issues, and I don't quote me on this, but I do believe that it's not just the smoke inhalation, it is also the nicotine, but I
Well, I
think
believe Tucker Carlson
but it
carries,
might
so
but
sorry.
yeah. They're like, "How much is in paying Tucker Carlson?" is what I wanna know,
Oh my god.
but yeah, I love that, like, you had me watch it, so, like, I was like, "Okay, yeah, like, I'm really curious about this too," and then I watched it, and you're right, like, Tucker Carlson was like, "You're gonna be a rich man if you use this." It was so absurd that, like, he explicitly stated you were going to be rich from using this, like,
And I
it was
take
nothing
life
subtle.
instructions
Yeah.
from, like, listening to the Theo Von podcast. Like, this
Yeah.
is where I'm getting most of my ideas
Let's
for
be
what I
real,
should
that's, like,
do.
where most of I don't wanna say most of America, but let's okay, let me rephrase this. Most people in America are getting their life advice from, like, Instagram, from podcasts, like, that is so true, like, you are correct about that, like, as, like, as I know you're, like, saying it tongue in cheek, like, it's funny, but obviously you went right out and bought it, and even,
I
like,
did.
I thought to myself, like, "Oh, maybe we should both try Zyn on," even though I just glamour smoke, like, I thought maybe we should try this, but then you had a bad experience and I thought,
Yeah, but I
"No."
think again, I left it in for too long. I think that I
Yeah.
gave myself too big of a dose right off the bat
Yeah.
for having never
Yeah.
tried this. This was probably like the nicotine equivalent of like trying an edible or something for the first time and getting a and
Yeah.
having a bad experience. I
I
don't know.
know. Yeah, that's and I have heard some, like, really horrible things about people trying edibles, and it just doesn't really go well.
As planned.
So,
You think you're
yeah.
gonna be so relaxed and mellow and
Yeah, what happens to people? I just always hear, like, it just
ah,
what actually happens? You just, like,
too
pass out or
what happens is people either don't know how many milligrams of THC they're taking because it's like a brownie that a friend gave them, or they think, they go to they're in a recreational state and they go and buy gummies and it's like, oh, 10 milligrams sounds like I'd probably start off with 5 milligrams if you're new to all this shit because you're gonna get paranoid and you're gonna think that you're gonna die and your heart's gonna be racing. You are going to be convinced that you are going to die even though you're not. And it's a very it could be a very enlightening experience. Honestly, it can really put things in perspective about what's important in your life. And I know that sounds crazy to say, but that is one of the effects that the compound THC can have. It can because it enhances your awareness and you're extra sensitive to things around you. You're extra sensitive to your thoughts. So when people talk about the paranoia, that's what they're talking about. And it's a little too much for people to handle. So anyway, long story short, if you're ever going to try an edible and you're new to all this, 5 milligrams and like give it 3 hours.
alright, alright. Well, so what about CBD? What are your thoughts on CBD? Is it
I
snake
think
oil or is there actually some kind of benefit?
I think in the actual compound CBD, like from the cannabis plant, I think it's absolutely a proven anti-inflammatory, good for pain, good for anxiety in some cases. But again, a lot of these over-the-counter CBD, like if you're going to like Bass Pro Shop to get like your CBD, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I think it's
Well, I
best
don't
to
go there because I don't wanna be on the government
oh
extremist
yeah, that's
list.
right. If you
Yeah,
shop
yeah.
there, then you're
You
kind of
shop at
screwed.
big press pro shops,
Yeah,
you're a
you're a
MAGA
MAGA
extremist.
extremist. Yeah.
You're coming to take over the Capitol building and
Isn't that wild, by the way, that like could you imagine like our grandparents if when like they were growing up, like the president at the time, whoever it was, would like demonize half the country and like, basically dehumanize them. Could you imagine that? Like grandma growing up and the president gets on TV and like there's military behind him and red lighting and he's at the fucking excuse me, he's at the
yeah, they
podium.
would think that, like, this is Stalin. Like, they would
Yeah.
immediately be like, "This is, like, Hitler-esque." And wasn't he, correct me if I'm wrong, he was at Independence Hall in Philadelphia.
Yes, he was in the birthplace of our nation with
I'm
like,
protecting democracy. You're like, I don't think you're protecting jack squat. Like, I I I I challenge every American to
pigs
go
in,
and watch what's that?
pigs in. I thought that's what you were gonna say.
No, no, to sit to just go watch any any conversation, any speech, any press conference, any event that Biden has spoke at in the last like 3 months and tell me that you believe that person should be the representative of the leader of the like he should be the leader of the free world. Just watch any single video and it's just it's not even that he has dementia. It's just that he's so frail, it's worrisome. You just think to yourself, if this is what we're projecting to the world, that's problematic. But
I
on the
know a lot
flip
of
side,
people who
yeah,
would look at you with a straight face and say, "Well,
it's
at least
better
it's better
than
than
it's
Trump."
better than I was actually about to say that if you take the flip side, people will say, "Well, do you think that what Trump was projecting was better?" So I can understand. I can empathize with that argument. I understand what you are saying, but
I don't
nonetheless,
empathize with that
I don't
argument.
know.
I look down upon you.
Just
Let's be
I can
real.
understand where you're coming from, but it's still it's it's rather upsetting. Like as much as I have been outspoken about being a MAGA extremist and which we're gonna be like taken off YouTube because I say that every episode that I'm like
Yeah.
MAGA. Joke, okay? I'm not a MAGA extreme. I'm not extremist
You should take
anything.
everything to heart, actually. Everything that we say, you should absolutely take it
Yes.
to heart 100% of the time.
I will say this, I will go on the record. I'm an extremist about one area of my life, and that is almond croissants, okay, with
Oh.
coffee. That's it. Like that is where I draw the line that you can throw me in prison, you can you can expel me from the nation if I cannot have an almond croissant with coffee, like that's living
Then
to
there's no
me.
point in living.
So there's no
There's no
point.
point
There's
in
no
continuing
point. No.
life.
No, absolutely not. So I am extremist when it comes to the important things in life, like food. I would say some, my faith, but but I definitely I'm not trying to overtake the government with my faith. I could care less because look at what how Jesus acted. He understood, like he tried to communicate to his followers that give to Caesar what is Caesar. Like like he wasn't worried about overturning the rulers of the time. Like he didn't worry about. And I think that that's what most Christians should believe too, that it's like you vote, you pay attention to what's going on, you take care of your family, you're involved with your community, but don't be so hung up on politics the day to day because it's not
Not to
it
branch off into
loses,
something
yeah,
else, but I just
absolutely
had to
do it.
mention, have you ever
Yes.
heard the theory that Jesus went to Japan for a short while?
No, I've
And
never heard this
and
theory.
you should look that up. You should Google Jesus in Japan. There's even like a shrine there too that talks about Jesus being there and learning, because there's this big gap in the Bible. It's like he's 12 and then he's 33. Like the next page he's 33. It's
Yeah.
like, wait a minute, what happened there? Did anything happen? Did he go anywhere? Did he I
Did he go to Japan like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles did? And
I think he went to Japan actually, and
this is
try,
fascinating. I'll have to look into this.
yeah, look into it. Jesus in Japan. I'm telling you. I mean, why
All
not?
right.
Would it change anything about your belief system if you found out that
No, it
Jesus
wouldn't
Christ went to
believe
Japan? I think it'd be
no, it wouldn't.
cool.
I love Japan. It's a great country. Like
Me too.
I wouldn't want to live in Japan, but having visited Japan, I told my husband I will 100 I know it's a 13-hour flight, but I will 100% return if the opportunity arose. I
If
love
you guys
Japan. It's
moved
great.
there, I would consider moving there if you moved there first. I'm not even joking. I don't think it would be all that bad. I think that there would
No,
be
it's a beautiful country. I
we might
loved
find
it. Yeah.
peace there actually. You
We
know,
might. We
one could
might.
find
Well, it's funny, I was talking about the aesthetics earlier, and I feel like Japan is, and I was joking about it, but really, like, in my mind, I sometimes think, like, Japan is aesthetic goals. Like, when I only got to visit Tokyo, and I'd really, really love to visit Kyoto because Japan is so fascinating because they've had such a rich culture that has existed for, like, over a millennia, kind of intact, and really, like, semi-isolated in a sense, but, and they're
Now they're having a
very
population crisis.
yeah, it's such a shame that they are because they're such a great culture, but when you go over there and like in Tokyo, it's just unbelievable. You're in a city of like 19 million people, one of the most densely populated cities in the world. And I could hardly I always tell people like I could count on my one hand how much trash I saw. There was just no
Yeah, very
trash
cleanly.
anywhere. Everybody's so polite. The lines just, you see a line, you're like, "Oh God, there's a line." The line is so efficient. Everybody's so friendly. Um,
You got
there's
Tokyo
something just
Disney.
I did not go to Tokyo Disney, but I was there for the Cherry Blossom Festival, and that's when I was, like, saying about the aesthetics. I remember we were at one of the there I don't recall the river's name, but there's, like, a lantern walk that happens at night during Cherry Blossom Festival, and my husband and I were there, and there really weren't a lot of American or really foreign tourists at all, but, like, we were walking I'm sure they were there, we just didn't really happen to see a lot of people, and there was, like I just remember walking past this, like, florist along the river, and it was just so it honestly, like, in the back of my mind, like, in the recesses of my mind, you know how, like, Happy Gilmore, he tells him to go to his happy place? Like, that is my happy
Yeah.
place. Like, I had just gotten a coffee, I'd walk through the Cherry Blossom Festival with, like, probably tens of thousands of Japanese and I'm sure some foreign tourists, and the river was all lit up in these pink lanterns, and there's, like, this beautiful florist shop, and it was just so much fun, and yeah, I loved it. It was just such a great country. Maybe that's what we need to do. We just need to move to Japan. It really did feel like Serenity Now
Well, you
was
see,
visiting. Yeah.
probably because Christ studied there and
And
left
yeah,
an impression.
he blessed the Japanese. Yeah. It is really cool. I recommend going there to anyone. But I went to Taiwan and Japan at the time. So those are the only Asian
Are
countries
you
that
gonna go
I
to
visited.
Taiwan to defend them when China
My
tries to
I
encroach?
kid you not, my husband has said this. He said that if China invades, he said, "I will go and I will defend Taiwan." He was like, "I would go over there and defend them." And
I might
I
go
to
with them. Like, if he
okay, I'll
signed
tell
up,
him.
I'd probably
I'll
do it
tell him.
too. Yeah.
Well, I told my cousin's wife is from Taiwan. That's why we were there for their wedding. And I told her, and she goes, "Oh, really?" She was just like completely confused because she's probably like, my husband will not go over and defend.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
glad your husband will. I'm glad he
Yeah,
cares.
thank God somebody's gonna go and
Yeah.
try and stop this.
I have to say too, though, like as much as I love Japan and I loved how the culture there, I have to say I always tell people that I feel like Taiwan is the America of Asia because it's had so many different culture. Like the Japanese were there and then the anti-communists were there and there's just been like a lot of different people that controlled it. They are so chill in Taiwan. And I was amazed like how friendly the people are. They are so like I really didn't get to interact with anybody in Japan and Japanese people weren't very in my experience I will say. And I only visited Tokyo. I did not visit the rest of Japan as
Don't
I
be
would like to
racist
do.
here.
But also we knew people in Taiwan, so I think that makes a big difference. But, like, just on the street, when my husband and I were alone, we went to go exchange currency at the bank in Taiwan, and this old man just, like, came up to us. He's like, "Thank you for coming." Like, they were just
Wow.
everybody was just so friendly in Taiwan, and they were just so like, I don't know any of the language, and I was trying to, like, order stuff, and they have, like, pictures, and the people were just so incredibly friendly and just, like, outgoing and just so chill, and especially about, like we went to this wedding, and my cousin's wife was like you don't have to, if you don't like someone, just don't eat it. They don't care. Like they're not
How long do
offended.
you
You know how you go to like certain people, like you go somewhere and like don't make sure you eat everything because they'll be really offended and they'll be offended about this, they'll be offended about that, and don't do this. Like when I went to Japan, we saw all these videos. It was like, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this. Make sure you do this, make sure you do this. In Taiwan, it was like free for all. It was like America, where it's just like everybody's.
ah
But I do feel like Americans, as long as you're not coming over the southern border, people are really friendly to you. It's
that's
just
pretty wild what's going on right now, by the way. I mean, if it
no with
has any
Texas.
has
Yeah.
anything ever has anything happened like this, like even in our parents or grandparents' lifetime, where it's like all these states say that that they're siding with the one state over the feds? It's pretty crazy
Yeah.
when it's like unprecedented in a sense
Um, in this century, well, in
in
this
this
past century, right?
in our time. I
Uh,
mean,
in our time, yeah, definitely. And we'll have to it's strange because every feels like it's like a tale of two cities. It's like the best of times and the worst of times. And it feels as if everything feels like a powder keg about to explode, but then it also feels like nothing's actually going to happen. Do you understand? Does that
I
make
do. I go
any?
back and forth. Like, is anything really gonna happen? Or are we just gonna kind of muddle on
Yeah.
here? And
Like you see what's going on in Texas and you think like, "Oh my goodness, we could literally be igniting a civil war. Something would happen with the National Guard and there's just so much
could be another
that
January
could take
6th.
place." Yeah. But at the same but like even January 6th seemed so I don't want to say epic because I think okay, not epic in a good way. I mean
No,
like
let's go with that. Let's stick with that. Actually, don't even correct yourself. No, let's we speak the truth here on
we
Reeducation
speak the
Camp, and it
truth.
was epic. Let me tell you.
It was well, it seemed epic in a sense, whichever way you want to describe, whichever way you want to look at the word epic, which maybe I should Google specifically what epic means. Why don't we do that real quick?
I think it's not. It's a nonpartisan term. Epic.
I think it's a nonpartisan
It's
term.
nonpartisan. Epic couldn't.
Let's see. I
It could
just
describe
don't.
terrible things, good things. You can use epic to describe bad and good things. We don't have to
That's what
say
I
which it
thought.
was.
So oh gosh, that's a dumb. No, there's more definitions. Doesn't mean just a freaking the Odyssey. Oh, okay. Me it says particularly impressive or remarkable, heroic or grand in scale or character. I feel like those are all positive connotations, but you people get
We
what we're
should probably
saying.
stop.
Yeah, we should probably stop. I mean, it seemed extreme, right? Like it seemed like it was let's put it this way. It seemed earth shattering at the time. Like I remember sitting there at the hometown farmers market thinking, these are the I need to rack up all the jelly donuts I can and put them in the freezer because
These are the
these
last
might
ones
be
I'll
the
ever get.
last I'll ever get. Exactly. Like that's what I thought was going down. And then like a couple weeks later, it was just like, oh, well, these people just like walked through, but we're gonna put people in without any due process and any actual charges for 3 years. But do you get what I'm saying? Like there's a part of it that felt like, oh my goodness, this is like a turning point and everything is gonna be different after this. And we kind of talked about this last week that you keep feeling I can't imagine I'm the only person that believes this, but even COVID like felt so extra. I think that COVID is a really good example. I'm not saying negative or positive, but I'm describing it the same way as January 6th. It felt earth shattering. And I don't want to offend anyone who lost their business or lost their job, or perhaps to you personally, it was earth shattering. But here we are 4
Well,
years
to the global
later.
community, it certainly was. I mean, everything, nothing was ever quite the same after that. But remember, just
Yeah.
like our buddy William Gates says, that the next pandemic is really gonna get your attention.
Well, yeah, I guess that's what I'm trying to say that like as much as COVID did change so much, and maybe you could say it was earth shattering, I feel as if it felt like it was going to be more extreme because I feel like 4 years later, here we are, and my life doesn't feel that much like it's, and maybe that's what we are going through right now, where it's, we're not seeing, we're seeing incremental change and incremental steps into a certain direction. I'm not saying that at the time these events seem unbelievable and remarkable. And yeah, you take COVID, we shut down entire countries, we shut down trade, we shut down, a lot happened. But what I'm trying to express is that 4 years later, it's not like, okay, you didn't get the COVID vaccine and now you're locked up in some kind of FEMA camp. Do you
That's
understand what
why
I'm
I
saying?
moved
Like,
to Florida. That's
yeah,
literally where I thought we were headed. I was like, well, I better
ex-
hightail it out of here
so
because
I think that you are proving out my suggest, like what I'm trying to explain here is like you decided to move to Florida because you thought, okay, I can't live in Pennsylvania anymore because it's going to get too radical for me to exist in the way I want to exist. I'm not saying that that's not happening, but I feel like it's in some senses like things are being, we keep, I just feel like a lot of people feel on edge. They're ready for the shoe to drop. You know, they're ready for the carpet to get pulled. They're ready for the keg to get lit. Like they're, do you
yeah.
understand? It feels like that is right there. Like, it's right there. It's like, it
And
just,
part of you
you just
wants
need
to
it.
hear Joe Biden give that speech announcing that we're that we were at war and that the selective service is in effect again. Part of kind of wants I kind of want to hear the speech a little bit
It's like, I think that's a good example. Like, you
in a
see
sick way.
Russia invade Ukraine, you see Hamas attack, Hamas take all these hostages and the October 7th attack. Like, you're seeing all these little, I don't want to call them little, I'm sorry, but you're seeing all these
These little
different,
blips.
yeah, these different fires being lit all over the place and all over time, kind of expecting that it's all going to blow up, right? Like that's how it feels for a lot of us, where it's like you're constantly holding your breath because you're ready to wake up and your entire world has changed. And I'm not saying like you can't leave your house and go, you have to go, you can't go inside McDonald's, you have to drive around the drive-through. I mean, like there is no McDonald's. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, McDonald's ceases to exist.
Yeah.
There is no going to the ball game anymore.
Yeah.
That's kaput.
Yeah, yeah, do you get where I'm going with that conversation? Like, I'm not saying
I think I
I'm
do.
not saying, yeah, like it just feels as if it's hard. I think it makes it really difficult. And I
It's
feel
like an
like
eggshell
COVID,
feeling. Everybody's got an
yes.
eggshell feeling. We're walking on eggshells. We don't quite know.
Yeah.
Is this okay? Is there we? Some people are expecting a punch in the face. It's like
Yeah.
we're like an abused animal. We're like an animal, a pet that's been like abused,
Well,
and we're kind of cowering in the corner. We don't know
you
if we can come out.
you hit it you hit it exactly what was I was thinking. It feels like COVID feels, and kind of January 6th, and to be honest with you, what's going on legally with Donald Trump, it feels like we are a gaslit, abused per partner. Like it feels like you don't really have control. So, which I will tell everyone, you guess what? Newsflash, you don't have control. You know, you
I
could
have
get a
control
car.
over everything that happens. I reunited, no doubt. They're playing at Coachella
You
because I
manifest
manifested
it.
it. So I
But
I'm an
what I'm saying is
exception.
it feels like COVID was us being gaslit. Like we're being gaslit that it's like, yes, I at any point in time, your entire life can be rerouted, changed, everything you once knew, we're gonna take away from you. And it also feels the same with like the election with Donald Trump, where we had all these mail-in ballots and these votes, and it's kind of questionable. But if you question it, well, then you're an extremist and you're trying to destroy democracy. And we're going to find 15 ways from Sunday to target you and silence
Chucky
you.
Schumer.
Yeah, yeah, Chuck
He's
Schumer.
he's the one he's on the
He's the
Zin
one that said it.
crusade. He's the one that made the announcement that we're going after Zin now because
Oh,
the
really?
kids are getting it. I had to show my ID to get it at the 7-Eleven. What do you mean Zin, like Zin packets are being passed around in like the grade school system? Really?
Well,
Maybe
well,
it's good for them.
but, but like you said, I think that it just feels like we're being, I think, gaslit. Like you said, it feels like you're an abused animal. It feels like you're an abused partner, where your partner, we have this what's the it's there's a term for bureaucracy, like when you're in a relationship with the government, with like the bureaucracy. I can't remember what the name is exactly. Like, but but it does feel like that. It feels like we have no control over the government. We have no voice. We have no real effect. And people feel powerless. And then you add COVID onto it, and it's like, yeah, we can really screw around with you. And then you see January 6th, people trying to exert control in the wrong way, like like
The
trying to exert
feds.
their will. Well, no, I meant the people. Well, who knows who was really there? But do you understand what I'm saying? Like the
I do know
people
what
that
you're
were
saying.
frustrated, and they're trying to exert their will back on the government. And then the government comes back with this huge force where it's like, well, no, we can imprison you, not give you a charge, ruin your life, destroy you. I mean, some people I know a local restaurant where the people weren't even in the Capitol that day. They were just at the event, just at the Trump speech.
Yeah, to see him speak.
And people shared their images all over social media, and they were getting reviews from around the country talking about how horrible people they were just for attending an event, not walking in the Capitol, not
Because they
being
went to
at
see
the
the
Capitol,
president speak.
just to go see the president speak. Yeah, they were extremists for being there, and people from around the country decided to review their restaurant that they've never stepped a foot in. They never spoken to these people in their lives. And I said in the last episode, these your people you disagree with are not your enemy. Like stop dehumanizing people because you don't agree with them. Like that is the problem that is taking place. But we were talking about the government. So we
Well, the
feel
president
gaslit.
encourages that, though. He encourages the
He
dehumanization of your
does.
fellow citizen based
True.
upon their political affiliation. And you know what? At
True.
the end of the day, in my opinion, all of this goes back to the dangers, the inherent dangers of political parties existing, because the founding fathers warned about them. They said that they would be the downfall, and all they've ever served to do is divide people up and put them in different and
And in false pretenses. Like everyone who has thought about it for more than 10 minutes realizes that these political parties are a uniparty. It's all an illusion. And hey, I welcome, like we've had this conversation. I welcome Bernie Sanders. I welcome Ayanna Presley. I welcome these far left candidates as much as I welcome Marjorie Taylor Greene and
Kanye
Donald
West.
Trump, like Kanye West. Yeah, like the more fringe we get, the more pressure we put on the uniparty system. And hey, folks, that's what's going on right now. You have the media that is completely bought and paid for by corporate interests who have every desire to continue what's already been going on for years and years and years in this uniparty system and this illusion of Republican versus Democrat. And they have every pretense to go out, and they want to undermine Trump. They want to undermine any fringe Republicans, any fringe Democrat, because guess what? Because even though, like, I get it, Marjorie Taylor Greene's a little bit rough around the edges. Donald Trump is rough around the edges.
Lauren
Uh, you
Boebert's a
know,
little bit rough around the
Bernie,
edges.
okay, I'm not speaking for her, but Bernie Sanders, like all these different Bernie Sanders, we'll say AOC, we'll throw her in there. We'll throw in some of these other far left
She's
candidates.
cute. Come on. I don't
But
care.
but what I'm saying about these people is that they are closer to what, whether you agree with the way they, maybe you don't agree with leftist policies. Maybe you don't agree with right fringe, far right policies. But those people are far, far closer to the American people, not to the real topics that are affecting the American people. And I really mean mostly like financially. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like Bernie Sanders voters are closer to Trump supporters
Oh,
than they
totally.
are to Nikki Haley and Joe Biden supporters. Do you
Totally. I
understand?
mean, I
Like,
I
I
phone
don't
banked
want
for
any more
Bernie
centrist.
Sanders.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
phone banked for the guy, and then in 2020 I voted for Trump. So
yeah.
there you go.
And you're probably not alone, because I think it's more we see like this populism because we are not able to have more than just this Republican Democrat BS, which people are starting to realize is just they're all one and the same. Like they are starting to wake up, and that's why you're seeing these fringe far left, far right candidates. It's not because they're far left and they're far right. They're just talking about the topics that people actually care about instead of just, oh, Nikki Haley. Like, guess what, Nikki Haley? No, we don't want any more wars. Okay. Like, we just want more money in our pockets. Okay. Like, we don't want, nobody wants to send their children
You need an
over to
internet
some
ID,
foreign.
Karen. That's
I
what
know.
I think. With talk like that, you need an
Well,
internet
you know what
ID.
they think about Nikki Haley? Do you know what they think her strategy is?
What's that?
They believe her strategy is that Trump is going to be ineligible to be the president or to be
Oh,
the candidate, and that
sure.
by default, she's still in the race. And I guess she got so many delegates or whatever that she becomes the default candidate
And
against
then that's
Biden.
how there's no election because there would, if it's Nikki Haley versus Joe Biden or whatever Democrat, then there really is no election because it's all they get to say, oh yeah, look, we had an election. Here's the Republican candidate and the Democrat candidate, and we all know that the Democrat candidate's going to win. So yeah, that is how they want to cancel the
Well,
election.
also too, they think that Joe Biden they're going to wait until the primaries have kind of wrapped up. And then
Oh,
they, like I said last week, take him off the stage with the big hook.
they've got
And
Michelle just waiting in there. They've got
so
her.
she's like the horse ready for the race. And
Oh yeah, and it's going to be tough to. I mean, think about it. You've got Taylor Swift going around on the Eras tour with big voter registration tents, getting all the kiddies signed up to vote for
yeah.
Michelle. Boy, that would be tough to beat. That would be tough to
But
beat.
as you said, if Nikki Haley becomes the candidate by default and then they have to throw somebody in behind instead of Biden, the people have had no choice over either of these candidates.
Oh, they
This
won't.
is
If it's Nikki Haley, then they won't swap out Biden. The only point of swapping out Biden would be
we
to
put
get
Trump.
somebody in
Yeah,
there who maybe is stands more of a chance against Trump. That'd be the only point of swapping them out. So if it's Nikki Haley, they
interesting.
won't need to. They would save themselves a lot of work. I mean, Michelle would
Yeah.
probably breathe a sigh of relief in some way,
Yeah,
to
she'll be
find out
like
that she doesn't have to go through with this after all.
she'll be on the yacht with Steven Spielberg and Richard Branson, and she'll go 4
Right.
more years of Joe, and then they'll just ride off into the Mediterranean sunset with their
Yeah.
mimosas.
I don't know though.
I don't know, I might vote for Michelle Obama. I love her.
She can
I
do a
wouldn't
lot of
love her as a
push-ups.
president, but yeah, she's
Got big arms.
okay. I just want to defend Michelle Obama from the mic conversation. I also have larger shoulders than my frame as a female. So
Uh-huh.
I I kind of feel for Michelle
I
Obama.
don't even know what you're
So
talking about.
I have like larger shoulders.
Oh no,
I
I
have
know
broader
that. I know.
shoulders. Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So, oh, you don't even know. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Who
don't even
knows?
know what you're
Yeah.
really referencing
What we're
or why you feel
referencing.
the need to
I wonder if talking about Big Mike will become like
who's Big
you'll
Mike?
be But I'm saying, like, I wonder if that would be if she became president, like, no one could talk about Big Mike. That
She
would
should lean
be
into it.
she should lean into it.
Yeah, could you imagine, like, the big
Can you imagine
reveal
her, like,
at
holding, like, an AK-47 and she's like, "Shh," like a GI Joe?
the big reveal at the convention in Chicago where just, she
She's like,
reveals
"Barack's into men, and I am a man. Vote for me,
It would
2024,
be
a
such a
new
great
America."
it would be such a great Finkel is Einhorn, moment. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, no, what
Finkel
is
is Einhorn. Einhorn is Finkel. Remember from Ace
no, it's
Ventura?
oh, okay, yeah, 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 I
When
remember,
he
okay,
found
now
out
I
that
know,
the
yes.
football player actually had a gender change, and
The
she was the
dolphins,
one that
yeah.
kidnapped the dolphin. Yeah.
Which is probably something they couldn't run on a movie today. Like, we've been watching just, like, in the background, we'll put on it and we're going to sleep. We've been watching Married with Children, and there's, like, so many things on that show that I'm like, they couldn't even do this today.
Oh yeah.
That
Same with
would
All
be
in the Family.
yeah, yeah, there's just so many jokes that I'm like, "Oh, yeah, no." I think as we're kinda winding things down, I didn't really promise this, but Colin and I wanna start doing something a little bit getting our devoted listeners, followers, viewers, and, kinda more engaged, part of the Reeducation Camp community, because this is a camp of, you know,
Of
derelicts, I'll say, but,
yes, individuals.
individuals. But, so I wanted to pull up number 1, I know that this was a Christmas conversation, but first I just wanted to say we had a comment from Shauna, from some of our Christmas we, had some Christmas debates, and she said Christmas wrapping by the Waitresses and Last Christmas by Wham, win her votes for top songs, and I have to say, I totally am behind you 100% on that, Shauna. My family puts on Christmas wrapping. It gets a very heavy rotation around the O'Toole Christmas partying. So, we love that song. And Last Christmas by Wham, I just want to put this out there that I found out this last Christmas, that George Michael actually wrote that song. Like, I know he was a member of Wham, like, I know he was like this pop star, but he wrote Last Christmas, and I was pretty impressed by that. It's a fun
It's a
song. It's a
fun
fun,
fact.
campy, yes, yeah. And if you have not watched the, music video for Last Christmas, you are missing out,
I
and
don't
I
even know
highly
the song.
recommend it. You don't know Last Christmas, I gave you
Oh, that one. Okay. Yeah, yeah. Didn't Taylor Swift do a cover of
I knew
that?
you were gonna say that. I knew it. I
All
knew
roads
it.
lead back to Taylor
You're like
Swift. This
you're like,
woman.
"How do I work in Taylor one more
Yeah.
time into this show?" We
Just
are
trying to
like
get
the
us some
biggest
hits.
Taylor we are like the we, like, pretend that we're not Taylor fans, but then, like, we secretly are, and I'm going to bring her up one more time. We should actually drink out of our thermoses every time we mention Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
There's actually nothing in here, I was just, like, doing this as a
I think
prop,
she's been brought
but
up like every episode that we've
every
recorded
single
for
episode,
sure.
yeah, we're like, "We
At least
can't
once.
stand her music," and then, like, somehow we mention her every single we know, like, every step she's taken, every move. Did you see she's in New York? Did you see she's in Long Beach Island? I my thoughts on Taylor is I empathize with her. I don't I really I feel bad for her. Can you imagine going out like, I
I
have,
don't
like, a
feel bad
little
for her.
I have a zit right here, and, like, every time I leave my house, somebody's, like, hammers on me.
Apparently,
I
she's got
can't be
$1 billion.
not recognized.
She's got a
I
billion
know,
dollars.
yeah,
Just no once she's got no
yeah.
worries. She's got no
She
concerns.
she could just go to, like she could just move to, like, Nepal and just
Well,
live
she
out
has
her
to bring down Western
days.
civilization first, okay?
Yes,
Like that's
yeah.
really her MO right now. Her and Mr. Pfizer. We've got to get as
Mm.
many of the kids signed up to vote Democrat as possible. And then after they collapse this country, that's when she'll retire to Nepal or whatever suggestion you have for her.
Alright, well, I do wanna say that Shauna also mentioned that, I think Taylor Swift is better looking than Selena Gomez. She wrote that Selena Gomez looks like a child to me, and it's always weird and creepy because she's trying to be sexy. Um,
I think I know what
I
she's talking about.
I know what she's talking about too, and I have to say that Selena, I think it's because Selena, which I do want to just preface this by saying that Selena has lupus. She had a kidney transplant. Typically, with that, something I kind of understand very
Oh,
well.
so
You
she's
take
she's a kindred
prednisone.
spirit.
Yes, you take prednisone, and prednisone, especially with lupus, you take it too. It makes your face puffier. Like it gives you like these chipmunk cheeks. It's horrible. It is absolutely horrible. But Selena shares with me that she's also a round face gal. So we already have like more fat in our cheeks. So I think that that's that quality about Selena that kind of makes her look very girlish. So even if she's not on the prednisone, she just has more of a round face. She looks very kind of gives you um a younger look, if you understand what I'm saying. So it's not really
Yeah,
sexy, it's more like cute. But Taylor,
has got a.
um,
Never
I
mind.
agree. She is pretty,
I was gonna say something. Go ahead.
but Taylor is definitely, I definitely think that Taylor is an objectively good looking woman. I think that she is pretty.
I feel like
I
that mousy look.
I will say that she has had whether she if she wants to keep denying it, she can keep denying it, but she's had work done. Look at the eyes and look at the eyes now. Her eyes are done well. All of the work she has done has been done exceptionally well. I wish she would
Oh, spared no
let me
expense, I'm
know
sure.
who she gave like who did all that work on her face. But it's subtle, but it's definitely been done. But I do think it gave her a more sexy, not sexy, but it definitely amplified her looks. Um, but I still don't really think of her as sexy.
No, she's gangly. That would be the word for her. Gangly
You
and
said that with
mousy
so much
and
disgust.
rat-like. I'm sorry. I should stop while I'm ahead. Poor Taylor.
I
Yeah, she's
think
got $1
it's
billion.
like I'm trying to think of somebody that's like well, Liz Hurley is obviously
Selma Hayek. Let's go. Let's go through all the 50 plus women that uh, I'm obsessed with.
well, it's interesting because like they're really you can be objectively pretty or objectively beautiful, but that doesn't make you exactly attractive or sexy. Like sexy, attractive. I think sexy is in one category, beautiful is in another category, and attractive is a whole other category.
You ever you
Uh,
ever follow Britney Spears' Instagram posts where she's like dancing around like a lunatic
yeah.
and like not wearing
Yes.
very little clothes? To me,
Yeah.
she's like sexy, but it's like a trailer park sort of is sexy.
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
know that like this is not
Mm-hmm.
a good thing to be getting involved with, and it's very lowbrow and lurid. But you would kind of be interested though, just to see. That's the kind
Yeah.
of I would go out on a date with crazy Britney for sure,
I
just to
will
kind of
say there's
see
been
what
like,
happens.
yeah, there were like in her prime, like videos of Britney that were very like sexy. You know what I'm saying? Like where she was very like she was like doing the dances and she's like sweating and
She's got the
she's
snake.
yeah, she got this. That's exactly the one I'm thinking of. Yeah,
Yeah.
you got it. Like
We have the
she's like
same taste in
channel
Britney
and
history.
and Brittany is in Brit. We should start bringing Brittany into every podcast. But
We
like
really should.
that was very, very like sexy. And yeah, like I said, like, but there's been times where she was just like I was gonna say, but there really for Britney, there wasn't really, besides like the Mickey Mouse Club, there wasn't really any time where she was like innocent. Like it was pretty much like you go back to that original Hit Me Baby One More Time, and I'm like, I can't believe this is like a 15-year-old or 16, and like the
Yeah, I
outfit she's
know.
wearing, it's so
It
inappropriate.
had no
Like,
chance to be normal.
yeah,
You know,
no,
there was
none.
no chance if you're starting off with that.
Yeah, yeah. I guess, yeah, I guess there's like I think like Jessica Simpson, uh there was some times where she was, like, sexy, like, but
Like when
sometimes
she
where
was in
she
the
was
Dukes of Hazard, when she was in that
here's
movie.
yes, here's a good example. Mandy Moore is, like, never sexy. She's just cute and pretty. She's
Yeah,
never sexy.
you're
She's
right.
never sexy. She's just I like Mandy Moore, but I think that she's more, She's just cute. She's pretty. She's objectively beautiful. Just never really like bombastic. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like sexy. I don't
Right.
know.
She never really had
Right.
an edge to her. She was always
Yeah.
more cutesy, sort of wholesome. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah, and then, like, I think that Jessica Simpson was supposed to be wholesome, and then her dad's like, "Okay, honey, it's time to take her pastor dad was like,
Time to get them out.
"All right, you're 18, let's go.
Yep. Yeah.
Somebody's
Mhm.
gotta pay for daddy's new mansion, bet it."
Hey, if you if you have a if you have a daughter like that, I mean,
And then the other one too, he was like, get out there and make papa some money, okay? I'm not no longer a pastor anymore." Apparently, her dad is, like, now in, like, a relationship with, like, an 18-year-old guy or something like that. It's really the Simpson family is quite I don't know the whole backstory of the Spears family, but we should probably do a deep dive
yeah,
on
we'll do a deep
these
dive in the future
deep dive
on the
on
Simpson
these
family and the Spears family, but I think that I think that's a good note to kind of
Yeah.
wrap things up here in a neat little package on this episode of
Yeah.
Re-Education Camp. And
And maybe we should tell our listeners or viewers, let us know who you think is sexy versus objectively good looking. Like all those different I want to
yeah,
hear what our listeners have to say. So that's all I wanted to
yeah,
wrap
post
up.
that in the comments section on YouTube or Rumble. Give us a like, subscribe to us, and any final thoughts for this episode, Karen?
Yeah, I think that next week maybe we have to talk a little bit about men. Aging, sexy, not sexy. I feel like the women are getting a little bit, we're doing a little bit too we don't want to objectify women too much on this show. So we're
Right,
gonna
we
have to
should
objectify
objectify men
some
a little
men.
bit too.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So come with your notes next week on sexy men versus not sexy men. Yeah, definitely.
All right, this
Mm.
podcast is turning into something I think that exceeds even our wildest imagination. So I hope y'all had fun. On that note, we are going to bid you adieu, but we shall see you right here next week on another riveting episode of the Re-Education Camp podcast.